Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, June 16th, 9 a.m. Eastern. We're doing a little bit of an open house again, show you how we do our routine at the chart, guys. It's a little bit of an odd week with the FOMC on Wednesday right into a holiday, and I don't think that's ever happened before. Obviously, the holiday, Juneteenth, is fairly new. So, going to keep an eye on that. Pretty much for me, it just means that big money will have less time before the end of the week to react to the information we get out of the FOMC. I'm not expecting a ton of volatility on the FOMC. It's going to be, the forward-looking statements and the presser at 2:30 that gives us the volatility. But before that, we've got a couple trading days. So at this point in time, as we know, we've got a lot of headlines, and you would think based on the headlines that the burden is on bulls to prove to us that they can overcome the negative headlines. When in reality, that's not the case. The burden's on bears. You've got a daily uptrend holding support with a double bottom, and now we're testing the high of Friday here in pre-market. So again, as I keep saying and have been saying for weeks, my mindset is I am bullish if we're in a daily uptrend on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, and that hasn't changed yet. And so that's going to continue to be my very clear, definitive statement that allows for me to not have to overthink things. And so we knew a 4-hour equilibrium was the most likely scenario as soon as we saw the size of the bounce on Friday morning. And we know that, that equilibrium, we can have maybe a little bit less confidence in it because of all the headlines. But here we are in a 4-hour equilibrium and we're testing resistance. So the burden is on bears to start the day to reject the price from the high of Friday if we're going to keep tightening up. And the NASDAQ is very slightly weaker than the S&P 500. S&P 500, well, no, they're very similar right now with where they stand in this 4-hour tightening range. And so knowing that it's the 4-hour that I care the most about, I watch the 15-minute time frame, and I'm watching the 15-minute uptrend as we head into the open. And I know that the bears will have to confirm a 15-minute downtrend on the morning if we're going to have a convincing 4-hour lower high shaping up. And if we get a bull break, then our daily high or low is set, and we're looking back up to the recent highs. And we know that the S&P 500 futures has been battling 6,000 a lot, and bulls are liking the fact that it is still support. There's been a lot of back and forth with that level recently. But all that said, pretty much just a resistance test first thing. And I keep looking around at, different sectors and individual names, and I still see a ton of bullish setups, way more bullish setups than bearish setups. And so again, I'm just going to continue letting price and trends dictate my decisions and directional bias until something changes. And, someone, a Chart Guys member, asked me Friday, what are you doing with hedges into the weekend? And my answer was, are we in a daily uptrend? And the answer was yes. And so the answer was not much. And I am willing to sit through some drawdown. I finally got my IRA back to all-time highs after a big grind over the last week and a half. But I'm willing to sit through a drawdown of, giving back a couple days of gains for the bears to prove something to me, and then I react to that new information. So again, it's just a reactive positioning mindset as opposed to a predictive one. And all I care about today is the 4-hour on the futures chart. But in terms of the bullish setups, I'm going to be highlighting a lot of them here. I'm going to go through my rundown, then I'm going to take some Chart Guys members' ticker requests as we head into the open. I'm watching SMH for a daily higher low. It's an extremely strong daily chart after a higher low every single day, 9 days in a row. It's a potential daily bull flag at this point. And so we look at the hourly and we say, okay, we're testing the high of Friday first thing, as many things are. If we reject, we'll look for the bulls to try and hold the low of Friday for an hourly higher low. And if we break that level, then we'll say our new daily higher low is set, and we'll be looking back up at the recent highs. And we know MU has been a lead bull, getting a lot of rotation in the semiconductor space. One name that I'm watching for, and Red Devil in the Chart Guys chat room was highlighting some options volume on this to end last week. It's SMCI, just because I love tightening daily equilibriums, and that's what we have here. Low, high, higher low, lower high, trying to gap up this morning. Well, we're right there. Same thing, right at resistance. If we break 42.47, another daily higher low is set. And we'll be watching to see if this constricting range is able to break bull if the bulls are able to maintain the daily uptrend in the broader market. So I like tightening ranges and watching for them to break, and SMCI is definitely one of them. Tesla has a very important resistance test. I mean, that's clearly the theme of the day. Resistance test first thing. We've got the zone from the last 3 days where we topped out with a double top the last 2 days, 332 or 333, I should say. And the high of the entire move on the daily chart is 335.50. So we've got 3 tops between 333 and 335.50. And right now, pre-market, we're at 332. So we're going to test those levels first thing. Aggressive bears are going to be looking for a rejection. If we break 335.50, we're back in a daily uptrend. After all that Trump-Musk drama, that'll be a higher low and a higher high if the bulls are able to pull that off. If we fail resistance, the most important support to me is 323.25 from the end of Friday. If that level holds, the bulls remain within striking distance of resistance. If we're going to get a hard rejection from resistance, that level would need to break. The dollar is still weak, down near the lows, daily, weekly downtrend, nothing changing there. Gold pulling back. We had the open to futures last night. We had gold strong and oil strong, and indices were weak initially. Indices bounce, and there's been a headline inverse relationship. I should say the headline strengthened an inverse relationship between gold and the indices and oil and the indices. So gold is now slightly red while the indices are slightly green, and oil, same thing. So gold, we're watching the 4-hour EMA 12 test here, daily chart, got right up to the all-time high resistance, still sideways overall, but certainly closer to resistance than support. Daily uptrend is our guide. Watching silver as well. Again, silver has been my focus because of the rotation from gold to silver during this period here. And I am moving up a stop for partial positions under that daily higher low, and obviously hoping that's a daily bull flag. And the miners here, we got to be watching closely, GDX, GDXJ, and same thing, still in some swing there, stops under that low for all my miner exposure. And we do have a double top at daily resistance now, and we are opening weaker. So that is a rejection. So we are still in a tightening range on the daily here. I'll call it an initial failed bull flag attempt, but no red flags unless we lose that daily support. So watching for the miners to tighten up a bit to start this week as well. Oil, double top right at resistance. So we had the big breakout on Thursday. And again, just an hourly equilibrium there. After the significant volatility, that's often what you get. Hourly broke bull with the futures open, but rejected at resistance, and now we're back at support. So we've got the low range being tested and holding. We've got the high range rejecting, and the bulls are hoping that they can make a move back up 72, 73, I should say 73 plus ideally today. If the bulls get back over 73, then we keep tightening up sideways there. And so again, knowing there's a strengthened inverse relationship because of the headlines, what can we conclude? Well, we can conclude that if oil is going to hold the support zone, it likely means the indices need to reject from their 4-hour resistance or break it with no follow through. So worth keeping an eye on that as well, but clear playoff support at the moment. Natural gas got some bullish upside. It's been overall tight. It's trying to form a monthly higher low. It's sideways on the daily. Again, just 3 holds of support, 3 rejections of resistance, and we're heading back up towards resistance, but very range bound as long as the 380s are still resistance. Bitcoin also holding daily support, getting a bounce, again, tightening sideways range. Anything under 110.6 thousand is a daily lower high. Bulls are liking the size of this bounce, the aggressive bulls that were playing off of 100,000 support on that dump Friday. And wouldn't be surprised to tighten up a good bit this week. There's a lot of tightening ranges out there as well that we're looking at, but wouldn't be surprised if we did something like that. And sideways is okay as long as we hold 100,000, especially after a 50% straight move up. No problem with sideways consolidation, just keep that support. So plays that I am watching, again, talking about the bullish setups, Meta was one that I highlighted as a clear lead bull as well. Looks like pre-market there's some action here. So news on Meta is Meta introducing channel subscriptions, promoted channels, blah, blah, blah. So bull break with that news, daily higher low set. So again, if you're just watching the daily uptrend as your guide, you've got a new key level at 680. And just like that, we're looking back up at the recent high, 708.33 as resistance. Meta has been showing some consistent relative strength. And if you just look at, there are some major shifts slowly happening with the NASDAQ. If you look at Meta divided by QQQ, you can see it's had relative strength for the last 2 months, essentially. And Apple divided by QQQ is showing us relative weakness, essentially swapping places. So Meta benefiting, Apple being hurt, and Apple hitting multiple year lows there. What I'm watching on Apple is a 2-day tightening range. And again, not a ton of bear setups that I like. If I am looking bearish because of the relative weakness, Apple is one of the names. And we'll see this key support is in play. Bulls must hold 193 to keep tightening it up. And the way that I am viewing this, just smoothing it out a bit, is reject from resistance, hold support, low or high, back towards support. So I care most about 193 and 206.24 as the key levels as far as I'm concerned. If we are not breaking either of those two levels, then we're still just trading sideways. And so Apple trying to benefit a bit from the broader market move here. But again, overall, a weaker name. So if the indices start to show me weakness or lose the daily uptrend, I would anticipate that Apple is likely going to be bear breaking down into the mid 180s if that is the case. So even though I am still bullish because we're in a daily uptrend on SPY and QQQ, I can keep an eye out and say, okay, if things shift, these are the names that I want to potentially have my eye on. Netflix is a potential daily head and shoulders, but again, I don't have any high conviction in it whatsoever if the broader market stays strong. 1230 would need to remain as resistance, ideally, if this is going to play out. We've just got a base in the 1170s that keep holding. That has to break for anything to change. So all this support in the 1170s. And again, this chart on its own, I'm not bearish on it. I have to see weakness in the broader market to get me to go bearish. Sometimes, Tesla, daily lower high, most likely scenario after a ton of weakness, gapping up twice in a row. Okay, I'll look bearish for that daily lower high, regardless of what the broader market is doing. But the vast majority of the time, the broader market is going to be dictating the direction I'm looking. And it's still bullish. Some other plays that I'm watching. So I'm bummed about CRCL, and crypto names like CRCL have this potential news event this week with the vote on the Genius Act set for Tuesday, most likely. Could it be a sell the news event because it's, 80% chance to pass? That's possible, but it's blue sky breakout. And I'm a bit bummed here because, again, there was very unusual strength in these crypto names Friday into the close. And if I were at the computer, Friday afternoon, I was done and not in the zone focusing. But if I saw that surge up right up towards the all-time high, I definitely would have swung a small position because I would have anticipated a new all-time high was very likely if that was the case. And so now we have this gap up open, and obviously it's now not a great setup. If I'm going to get a setup that I like from here, it'll be looking for an hourly higher low. Ideally, the way that these names, these plays have played out in the past with blue sky breakouts is you gap up, you get profit taking on the gap up into 5-minute oversold, and then you buy that 5-minute oversold for the hourly higher low into continuation. And the strongest blue sky markets, that trade setup was just an ATM machine. And so that's something I'm watching for. If CRCL sees profit taking on the open, do we drop down to 5-minute oversold? We've got a base of support in the 143s from pre-market to be watching. But if this name's going to stay strong, you want any dip to mark an hourly higher low and then ideally see continuation. But again, the lack of resistance, the hype around this IPO, quick consolidation, back test of 100, it's just really strong with a ton of space for an hourly higher low. So this is definitely a top bull watch for the week. You got to be really cautious here. It's thinly traded. A lack of liquidity is a bull's best friend in blue sky breakout. That's why things surge so significantly. And But you just got to be aware, it can drop 5% very easily as well. So when I have been trading CRCL this past week, my position size is, a third of what I'll take on a standard Tesla position size. So just got to be aware of that. But my target for a new all-time high was 150, that nice round psychological number. So that's in play. But again, hourly uptrend will be our guide here. And the other crypto names like MSTR and Coin are benefiting as well. They closed strong Friday. They're gapping up, but the setup is nowhere near the same, just not in breakout mode and obviously not in blue sky breakout. So CRCL is going to remain a top watch. The uranium space continued to show its strength last week through the headlines. Just can't ask for a better back test on CCJ. Double top at all-time highs, cup and handle confirms, and then you back test and hold that level almost to the penny on the bear day Wednesday, or Tuesday, I should say. Then just perfect sideways. Again, after a big move, sideways consolidation is a bull's best friend. Sideways. You're not giving anything back. You're cooling off RSI. You're getting EMAs to catch up. And so we're trying for another second Monday morning gap up open in a row, and all-time highs are in play first thing, 68.12. The extended hours resistance will be 69.66. And the other names, OKLO and SMR, not getting all-time highs here, but coming off of all-time highs last week and still daily uptrends. So bullish uranium as long as we're in daily uptrends. And we'll keep an eye on CCJ as the leader of the space in terms of market cap and fundamentals, not in terms of percentage moves. OKLO, definitely a lot more volatility in both directions there. And one more place that I'm keeping an eye, these are new names for me, low cap drone names, obviously the headlines being potential catalysts for them, but two of them that I'm watching. We had a recent IPO, AIRO, on Friday, which had a ton of volatility, halts all over the place. We open at $12, and next thing you know, we're at 39. But the most important levels there are 23 and 39. Again, with names like this that are so illiquid, you just got to ensure you're using small capital and you've got experience with that kind of volatility, because they're very tricky to be trading. You don't want to be inexperienced trying your luck at these gaps and halts and all this going on these names. But the other names that I'm watching are JOBY. And so JOBY had a pullback last week. We're looking for a daily higher low off EMA 12. And pre-market here, we're going to test the high of Friday first thing. So if the bulls break 886, daily higher low is set. And then that 845 level becomes the must hold level. Again, you just got to keep setting daily higher lows off EMA 12 to keep me interested. And so anytime that changes, that means take a step back as a bull. But JOBY, in terms of resistance, it's a long-term monthly equilibrium that's been tightening up for a couple years. And so if we were to confirm a daily downtrend from here, it would be a red flag that we may just be forming a monthly lower high to continue tightening for a while. Another name, again, these are low cap volatile names, ACHR. Not a ton of resistance up here. We had dilution news to end last week, and bulls are trying to hold 924 support on that bearish dilution news reaction. And again, another name gapping up over the high of Friday, 1029. So that now makes 977 a must-hold level for me. And bulls are hoping to see some gap fill back to the upside. So I've never traded these names. They're new to me. So that means I put them up on my screen and I start watching them. What does the bid and the ask spread look like? What's the liquidity, the volume like? Things like that. You need to get familiar with names first a bit if you're going to get comfortable actively trading them. So those are a couple names now on my radar. Checking back in. We got 10 minutes into the open. I'm going to do some requests here. Again, right at the highs on so many things. We're going to be testing resistance first thing. So we'll start it off, a crypto name near USDT. Just looking for a daily lower high. So big bull move, couldn't confirm a daily trend change, fresh lows. Anything under 273 is a daily lower high, and the 4-hour uptrend is our guide while we scout a daily lower high. You can draw a downtrend resistance line if you want for a little bit of visual guide. And so we could say the bear breaks are lacking follow through recently, but bull's still not proving much yet on this chart. Hims is another name I'm watching. Sorry, that just triggered me. Nope, not Hims. Hood. I like Hood's tightening daily range. Again, just form the higher lows, hold daily EMA 12, and you're going to remain bullish. And so keeping an eye out, can the bulls hold 68.56 to stay strong? And that reminds me of CCJ's little tightening daily range here before we got the most recent leg up. So U's looking for a weekly higher low. Anything above 2045. We are pulling back the last few days. So I just stick with the hourly downtrend as a guide. We've had some nice big bull moves the last couple of days, but we haven't been able to convincingly hold on to those moves. Again, another name where you could draw a downtrend resistance line to just have a bit of a visual guide. But I would look at this and say, okay, anything under 24.88 is an hourly lower high on any bounce. The bulls need a big enough bounce on the morning to create the space for an hourly trend change to try and shape up compared to the low of Friday if they're going to prove to us that things are shifting. Confirming an hourly trend change back to the bulls would be the first baby step to try and set a weekly higher low. MARA, I've been watching Riot as my major crypto miner just because Riot has the bull break and is now back testing resistance 950 to try and hold a daily higher low. MARA didn't break resistance and is a tightening range. Nothing wrong with a tightening range. It's just weaker than Riot. But again, hourly downtrend is our guide. Anything under 1572 is an hourly lower high. The bulls need to shape up an hourly trend change back in their favor. If they do, I'll just be viewing this again as a tightening daily range trying to form. But rejected from resistance and now a clear hourly downtrend the last few days. Burden on bulls to shift that. ORCL, massive breakout mode. So first things first, 212.37. Simple statement, if 212 is holding, the bulls have absolute complete control up at the highs here. And those are all-time highs. If we lose that level, I'm still looking for an hourly higher low compared to the low of Friday. It's just a little bit more weakness, obviously. And of course, resistance 216.60, 217.24 in play first thing. So the bell's going to ring. We're either going to break short-term support into clear hourly consolidation or see those new all-time highs. And obviously this is a lead bull, and we're going to be looking for hourly back burner to mark a daily higher low as we are in breakout mode. MSTR, so again, it had some of that strength Friday, gap up open this morning. Hourly uptrend is our guide. Anything above 373.20, nope. Anything over 373.94 is an hourly higher low. As far as resistance is concerned, we're looking at a bit of a zone here. So we'll call this a resistance zone in the low to mid 390s. You can see all these rejections past couple of weeks. So those resistances are in play. And it's just a battle between the low 390s resistance zone and the hourly uptrend, which is going to break first. ARM, daily higher low on watch. Again, many semiconductors have that as the case. Anything under the high of Friday is just an hourly lower high. Burdens on bulls to break the high of Friday to set a daily higher low and give us a new most important support level. I don't love the bull breaks without follow through. You just got to be cautious of something like, a daily rising wedge shaping up a monthly lower high. It's not an immediate concern right now. It's just something we want in the back of our minds so we don't get surprised by it if it were to happen. Because again, I go to that monthly chart and I know a monthly lower high is the most likely scenario for me. And then I say, okay, well, how could a monthly lower high potentially form? And a daily rising wedge is one possible way. So daily uptrend is your full bull control guide. You just keep that in the back of your mind to not get surprised if a monthly lower high shapes up. AMD. So AMD is another one that broke resistance without much follow through. And again, it's another one where a monthly lower high will eventually be the most likely scenario. Short term, high of Friday, we're above it. So a little gap up open. So that now makes this the most important daily range here. You can see this daily higher low held on Friday just barely by 35 cents. So that for me now makes 114.71 the most important daily support. Bulls are keeping control of that support, but if we lose it, obviously we lose some of that momentum. And again, same thing, I could draw a potential rising wedge that I want to keep an eye on just so it doesn't, I don't love this one as much. I would have had it like that. I would have had it already confirming if I had drawn it before Friday. But we got our clear daily support that must hold. Resistance will be 122.25 and then the high. And obviously bulls want to see SMH continue its daily uptrend. So still holding on for bulls. We just got to keep monthly lower highs in the back of our minds. CVNA, big sell-off the last few days. We were just way overextended. We know a weekly higher low is the most likely result of this pullback. A little bit of a bounce trying to play out. High of Friday is 313 resistance. After the weakness and the volume the last couple of days, if I'm a bull, I just want a daily inside bar. Just stop dropping. Hold 295.39, try and establish a shift here. Again, we know we have to confirm an hourly uptrend if things are going to shift in any meaningful way. There is a support zone here from the way up. Got all this price action. Previously resistance. That's a good zone. Double top at resistance. That was another cup and handle. Then held it as support. So low 290s here. Key support zone. Got to confirm an hourly uptrend, and then we got to try and shape up a daily uptrend if we're going to set that weekly higher low. MU, again, lead semiconductor bull, just looks really strong. And already confirming the daily bull flag into continuation. Again, this is one where I'm filing this one away in my memory banks because we had the clear automated buying on Monday and Tuesday, early June. And the amount of follow through from that, and by automated buying, I just mean straight up on the 5-minute time frame, not touching EMA support, hardly consolidating, just very systematic buying at the ask. And nothing but follow through. And if you look at MU divided by SMH, we are seeing a very clear shift where we are approaching now the strongest that MU has been compared to this ETF in a year. So again, there's rotation going on within that ETF. NVDA divided by SMH, still holding pretty well, I assume. So it's not like a ton of money is leaving NVDA. But again, always watching where is money going, and very clearly, MU has been the laggard of the semiconductors. And so we'll look for an hourly higher low on MU, anything above 114.93. And the next resistance level after the high of pre-market. Are we clearing this? Yeah, we've already cleared that zone. 115.90. I mean, really 122.57 before gap fill is the next glaring level to me. ATAI, low cap psychedelic, and then we'll get ready for the open here. But we're looking for a weekly higher low here. I don't love that we broke key resistance right into a pullback, but we also have to understand that we were up 100% into that resistance break. So daily chart, there is a lot of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. Bulls need to break 218 resistance to start this week if we are going to see some relief. There was a gap at 206 that filled. So what bulls want to see is a couple days of green to try and create the space to form a weekly higher low. And got to keep an eye on the biotech sector as well. There's definitely some correlation there. But hourly uptrend, trying to confirm here. And if we break 219 or 218, daily bounce is underway. And bulls hoping for a quick weekly higher low, but they've got proving to do. Pulling back a little bit under resistance here in the NASDAQ. Again, 15-minute uptrend is going to be our guide. When we lose it, that's potentially the first step towards a 4-hour lower high forming. Lots of resistance tests first thing. QQQ, SPY. XLF's got a resistance zone in the 50-40s to be watching. SMH is testing resistance first thing with NVDA. Tesla's got a wall in the low 330s. It's testing first thing. And again, keep an eye on if CRCL gets to 5-minute oversold on any profit taking. Can bulls have that mark an hourly higher low? CRCL up over 150 first thing real quick. So now 147 is a very important short-term level. If bulls are going to hold the gap up gains, 147 needs to hold through the morning. QQQ back to testing resistance. XBI has a bit of relative weakness. Quick drop on the open for the biotech sector. So 15-minute uptrend continuing on QQQ. We are over the high of Friday, but only by a couple pennies. Definitely need more than that. And SPY is not yet 601.85. So if bulls are going to have confidence in 4-hour bull breaks, we need to see SPY break resistance as well. UNH with a little relative weakness first thing, daily consolidation. Inside bar, nope, not yet. Still an inside bar, but we're testing support, 309.71 if the inside bar is going to break bear. XBI trying for the quick recovery. It usually has a lot of volatility in the first 5 to 15 minutes. Tesla rejecting from resistance first thing, relative weakness in the sense that it's near its low of the day while QQQ is at the high. Bulls are liking the start for QQQ. Key test on XLF as well. If XLF can break its high of Friday, that will be continued confidence. 50.46. UNH bear break with follow through. Back to the 307 zone, which has been important. CCJ, good start. 70 psychological is resistance there. Tesla's continuing its relative weakness after the resistance rejection. That Tesla support again on the hourly from Friday. Bulls really want to hold 323.25. SPY still has not broken the high of Friday, so we are keeping an eye on that. XLV is glaring relative weakness now. XBI is still weak as well. So XLV lead bear while QQQ and XLF hit the high of the day. And again, overall, bulls are okay with rotation going on amongst the major sectors. XLV was the lead bull last week. So if I'm a broader market bull, as long as XLF is holding well while XLV drops, that's fine because we're going to be looking for an XLV daily higher low. But again, clearly this morning with relative weakness. CRCL key 147 back towards that level. I'm assuming Tesla's a 1-minute stair-step drop on its rejection. So the most aggressive bulls can be watching that, but again, clear glaring relative weakness out of the gate. Impressive XLF bounce. So XLF filled its little gap. So it's now a sideways tightening daily range as well. I've stopped out. I had an XBI or an LABU swing position runner. And I've stopped out of that with this weakness, breaking the low of Friday. So that ends up being an uneventful trade, pretty much flat. UNH, those 307s, that's clearly the zone. It was a double top on the daily. And we broke it. So it was the high of June 4th, the high of June 9th. We broke it, we back tested it, and held it a couple times. Got the wrong level marked. Adjusted. So back tested it and held it a couple of times, and then just now another test and hold. So that's the line in the sand to start the week. If bulls are going to try and continue progressing on this daily bounce, need to maintain 307 as support. CRCL. I'm not going to trade CRCL while live streaming just because I got to be fully in the zone for some of that volatile, but just a really nice playoff support again. Comes right down to it. Put your stop under 147, continuation. And that's with Bitcoin at the low of the day. Being a recent IPO, it's been ignoring Bitcoin a good bit. Coin's ignoring Bitcoin still as well. So this is telling me that, this headline of the vote coming up is overriding any Bitcoin correlation right now between these crypto stocks. QQQ still holding on, as is XLF. XLV's bounced a good bit, as has UNH. XLV bulls would love to get back to the high of the day, 136.55 after a dollar bounce already. And SPY is still battling just under the high of Friday. Semis are strong. SMH did break the high of Friday, as did NVDA. 145 is now key resistance on NVDA. We know MU is remaining strong. Netflix heading back up to that 1230 resistance level. We'll keep an eye on that. Relative weakness in IONQ continues. CEO sold 78% of his shares in one day on Thursday. So that's going to have a bearish cloud over it. Key short-term support test, 35.93, holding initially. But again, another name where we're keeping an eye out for the possibility of a monthly lower high. So we looked at oil. Let's see if oil is staying inverse on the initial bull move. It's holding sideways. But oil needs to, again, head back up towards 73 plus if we're going to hold this support zone. MELI, hourly uptrend confirmed by breaking the high of Friday. So again, another name where we are scouting a weekly higher low, and we're testing EMA 12 and back testing resistance as support. Daily bounce underway. Bulls want to see a couple days of follow through to create the space for a daily trend change to try and shape up and mark that weekly higher low. 24.17 is a resistance level approaching. With FOMC Wednesday, holiday Thursday, and quad witching Fridays, that changed my plan for the week? Not really. I mean, I probably wouldn't initiate swing positions, Wednesday morning. I'll probably be done doing anything with swing trading aside from any profit taking or stopping out. I won't be initiating any new swing positions the second half of this week. I guess that's one way that I am shifting things. Let's check in. CCJ is doing great, so let's check in on peers. Again, just another sideways range, leg up, sideways range, leg up. OKLO, beautiful. Look at that strength. The volatility on this name is wild, but daily bull flag right to new all-time highs. Huge volume out of the gate. Just shoots straight up 10% in 5 minutes. Another name where I use smaller position sizes. SMR, daily bull flag confirmed, all-time highs. Uranium is the bull sector as long as this continues. RRC, great start. That's a cup and handle looking weekly chart. Highest level in years. So we got daily, weekly, hourly uptrend guide. Low of today, trying to be the hourly higher low. And now as far as next resistances, going way back, there's a little level at 43.60 from 9 years ago, 8 years ago. Again, another name where bulls are in full control. We're just not going to disregard. Again, we put on our bear glasses. What would catch us by surprise? We'll keep an eye on that. Uptrending resistance line on the monthly chart. Nothing to worry about short term. More of a channel than a wedge anyway. But bulls obviously want to see 44 plus to convincingly break out. And a lot of space for a daily higher low as we've been stair-stepping the last 7 days. CRCL still strong. Meta did pull back a lot from that gap up. Headline. Still up 2% on the day, but watching the $7 resistance zone there. SPY still not breaking resistance. IWM pulled back to the low of the day. Failed to break the high of Friday. So IWM is a relative bear with that resistance rejection. Pretty much the names that are not breaking the high of Friday are standing out. Weaker as the stronger names broke the high of Friday. So still considering this a resistance battle overall. But simple statement is the NASDAQ needs a new low of the day if we're going to consider this continued tightening 4-hour futures chart. So that means semis would need to weaken. That means a whole lot needs to shift here in the short term. PLTR was heading up to all-time highs. Let's see if we got there convincingly. Yep. So look at that double top at 140. And what do we hold first thing? 140. Great start. Continuation. New daily higher low is 133.35. And we are in blue sky breakout. Daily, weekly, hourly uptrend guide. And here we can look to 150 psychological resistance as well. Again, how many blue sky names have we covered so far this morning? That's what I'm talking about in terms of bullish setups. 3 uranium names, PLTR, CRCL. Hood daily higher low is set. So if 68.56 is too far away for good risk reward, now we're using 71.69 as a must hold level. If this tightening range is going to break bull for another leg up, again, just like CCJ, sideways is good when you are in a breakout. Watching for a potential Tesla equilibrium. That 1 minute stair step did mark the low. Nope, take that back. 1 minute bear flag. We did get one extra little push down there, but what I'm watching for now is a 5 minute equilibrium where if we fail the high of the day, it's a lower high. And we'll watch to tighten up on the 5 minute. But again, same thing as I was talking about swing trading. You know, if I'm looking at QQQ here and saying, okay, it's all bull, so I'm not going to be actively shorting personally and fighting that. But if things shift and we head back down towards the low of the day, I know that Tesla is a potential spot for bears to be looking because of its resistance rejection. CRCL, we're probably just riding 1 minute EMA 12 right now, which is what the strongest bull moves do. 1 minute EMA 12, continuation. So 154.50 is now the key short-term support. If that's holding, the bulls have complete control. If we lose it, we lose some of that momentum. But again, just a monster. Blue sky with a little fundamental catalyst sprinkled on top. The harder we run into a vote, the more likely it will be at least a short-term sell the news event. But we don't got to worry about that today. Gap up by 10% and then another 10% right on the open. RIVN. So another name that is looking for, well, the weekly, I don't love the clarity on the weekly because we set a little higher low, quickly broke bear, no follow through. But we do have a daily downtrend guide. So we are over the high of Friday, but only by a couple pennies. There's a gap at 1388 is the next level. But we are in a daily downtrend, so we know anything under 1480 is just a daily lower high. What I have not loved about RIVN is to break a monthly equilibrium that's been forming for a year right into a significant drop. Again, we were a little bit extended to the resistance break. Okay, can make a little bit of an excuse for the bulls, but you don't want to break resistance right into a 22% drop. It's not game over for the bulls. It just gives me a bit of hesitation and makes me a bit more cautious. But what the bulls would need to see here would be, you know, a big enough daily bounce for a couple of days to try and shape up a daily inverse head and shoulders to shift that trend. So QQQ 5 minute consolidation now underway. We care about that low of the day a lot. SPY is a double top at the high of Friday. IONQ with a nice bounce despite its relative weakness. Another name like Tesla where we're watching for a potential 5 minute equilibrium. And its peers are doing the opposite. So QBTS, much stronger move. So that just means, again, what I love to do when I'm trading a sector is I want a name where if QQQ is bullish, I'm looking this way. And if QQQ is bearish, I'm looking bearish this way. So the weakest name, I'll be looking bearish, and the strongest name, I'll be looking bullish. And right now, QUBT and QBTS are still real strong. IONQ can shift its correlation because it held support. Again, Tesla developed a bearish correlation on the morning because it rejected from resistance. IONQ can try and regain a bullish correlation by holding support. Need to confirm a 5-minute uptrend. Nice save by QQQ, back to the highs. SPY broke resistance. So again, let's check in on our futures 4-hour charts. And obviously we're going to need follow through, but that's a resistance break. I mean, it's crazy to say, but if the S&P 500 closed right here and now, it would be the third highest close in the last 3.5 months. Price action and trends over headlines. Next resistance is going to be the high of Thursday. For QQQ, that's 534.64. CRWV. Daily inside bars, 2 in a row. So getting real tight again. Sideways after that breakout is just fine. If you're a bull, as long as you keep daily EMA 12 and keep those higher lows going. So bulls are hoping this tightening range can resolve with a bull break and give us a new 142.50 higher low, but it hasn't happened yet. We are still tightening up sideways. But this is definitely a good one. We're going to see volatility here second half of this week pick up. Or if not, because of the holidays and all that, then certainly first thing next week. But I'd just put this CRWV right in line with Hood. Just breakout, sideways, tightening range, and trying to churn before a new leg up. So this will be worth paying attention. Enough for me to write down. Plug. Trying to set the daily higher low after a breakout. We did break. Nope, we double topped at the high of Friday. So clear resistance. Bulls ideally want to hold 126. It's tricky with penny stocks like this because literally every penny is a key level from somewhere along the line. But we did double top initially. So currently a daily inside bar, trying to set a daily higher low. How would I view OKLO's strength to start the morning? I never love the gap up and go plays for confidence in all day follow through. It definitely can happen plenty. I personally just, it's a little nuanced, but I'd be more comfortable if we open at 64.50 and then break the high of Friday first thing into that move. It's just a tiny little difference, but giving back half of the initial pump up. We are looking for a 5-minute higher low, so an aggressive bull is watching 69 and wants to be able to make a statement that's either the higher low or I'm wrong. If I'm looking for a day trade position to grab the 5-minute higher low, I don't want to play off 66. It's too far away, too much risk. I want a level right nearby. And also got to be watching peers, SMR, 5-minute stair step still. CCJ just started 5-minute consolidation after an inability to break a new high. XLV made it back to the high of the day. We got all major sectors just fine overall. And again, XLV, if this is a very fast example of potential rotation between major sectors, but if XLV just forms a quick higher low on the daily, obviously that's a good thing. Bulls will need to regain an hourly trend change. UNH back to the 307, so we could say there's relative strength or relative weakness in UNH. UNH did not get back to the high of the day. If we were trading UNH in line with XLV, it would be up at 312 right now. So there's relative weakness on UNH compared to XLV. Datsby, that was a joke I made on Friday. I was not looking for a 1.7 million share size position on a new IPO. It was a hypothetical play, and the joke was that I would have all-in'd, which obviously I would never do. Maybe not, obviously, so my mistake. If I put a smirking face next to my comments, it's sarcasm. CRML. So resistance 270, 281. Again, just a really nice sideways, balancing scales, breaking bull. So trying to put in a longer term bottom, but still range bound as long as 281 is resistance. Bulls trying to set an hourly higher low, need to regain a 5-minute uptrend for the low of today to be our new hourly higher low. Quick gap fill. We'll see if that can lead to continuation. And if we fail the high of the day, we'll be watching for a potential 5-minute equilibrium. I mean, it's just all bulls. And you got to figure now there's some trap bears out there. Headline bears. We're approaching 534.64 on QQQ. And after that, then it's just the highest price that we've seen in 4+ months. 4 months. Same for SPY. There's just nothing wrong with this daily chart. XBI might have gotten shaken out right at that low. That's the way it goes. That's right, UNH dividend. That hasn't gone out yet, has it? Is it the close? Either way, clear relative weakness at the lows. Bitcoin made it back to the high of the day, helping coin with its momentum. Tesla still tight. Apple, we're going to be watching 200 psychological. Again, the level I care about on its sideways two-day range is 206s. So that's not in play. At this point, it's just tracking the NASDAQ, obviously. So keeping an eye on PEP. Pepsi trying to shift momentum. Gotta get over 133. Daily inside bar today. CHYM. Recent IPO, daily higher low set. Have we confirmed an hourly uptrend? Little dinky pivot in there. So 34.40 support. We gave back a lot of the morning pump. 5-minute equilibrium watch. Bulls are hoping to set the higher low here, and we'll watch to tighten up. Similar to OKLO. OKLO still battling 69. So definitely want to recover and not form a big upper wick on the first bounce day ever. Headline about Iran wanting to de-escalate. Again, you're going to get those headlines constantly. They're going to impact 5-minute charts, but we know, I'm mostly ignoring the headlines. JOBY, daily higher low set. Nice recovery from initial profit taking, 5-minute oversold into a big bounce. Other one was ACHR. Again, very volatile, 5-minute, 5% easy each direction. AVGO, again, giving back the majority of the morning move. Technically a 5-minute tightening range, but testing support. Nice daily tightening range as well. Daily inside bar. So trying to set a daily higher low, anything above 241. So all things considered, daily chart's just fine still. But the burden's on bulls if we're going to set a new daily higher low. And currently just an inside bar. UNH another hold at 307 initially. Again, Tesla just so clear that it is not benefiting from QQQ strength here. We do have a double bottom at the low of the day. Bulls need to clear 330 to shift anything. IONQ did make a full recovery after its key support hold. Still will need to confirm a 5-minute trend change there as well. I'm impressed with the bulls. I wouldn't have been surprised at all to keep tightening up to start this week with how the equilibriums were shaping up. So to just head right through resistance. Friday we were talking about how the S&P 500 is a potential inverse head and shoulders, and that's what it ends up being. Just a couple short-term levels, and next consolidation on the futures, we will be looking for a 4-hour higher low. Plenty of space for it. CRCL still holding strong. Are we setting a 5-minute higher low to go off of? Nope, still a 5-minute stair step, so we can zoom in and watch 2-minute support levels. 2-minute higher lows all morning. If we break 157.55, a little short-term shift will be underway. Hims with a great start. Do I consider it a cup and handle? Look at that morning volume surge. Second candle of the day. It gives this signal a lot, so it's a bit less reliable, but nice follow through from it. Daily resistance broke. I would say, it is. I was looking at this as a cup and handle a couple weeks ago. And you obviously never want to break that resistance with no follow through, but you got to give the bulls credit. After we gave back that pump on that very ugly daily candle, we did hold support. I mean, that's the line in the sand, 51s. If 51s is support, the bulls are in control of the longer term time frames. And so since then, it's just been slowly clawing back to try and get back to the mid 60s. So is it a cup and handle? I'll say it was. It's not shaping up in the ideal way, but again, bulls did play defense there. Wouldn't be surprised to trade sideways for a while within this range as well. Considering it's pretty wide, I would just mark our support zone and our resistance zone. Gotta let my dog out real quick. Just watching the 5-minute stair step on QQQ at this point. XLF. For how bearish it was Friday, just a complete turnaround. I'd be viewing that as a 2-day equilibrium. Trying to set the higher low. Let's check back in on SMCI. Are we setting the daily high or low? Yep. Again, just a couple weeks ago, we were watching bull flags, cup and handles, and bottom of the barrel names. The bottom of the barrel names, PEP, UNH, haven't really developed, but now there's a ton of bullish sideways ranges. And so that's the new play style of the setups that I'm looking for into the second half of June. So again, if we're making a list, it's Hood, CRW, SMCI is coming from a weaker spot, bigger picture, but similar tightening range. Tesla double bottom at the low of the day, trying to break short-term resistance. Again, it's the kind of thing whenever you see something that has relative strength or weakness, it can only fight the current for so long. The current is the major ETF that it trades correlated to. And so, if QQQ keeps going up, obviously the relative weakness on Tesla isn't going to get the bears very far. What we would have needed to have seen was clear 5-minute QQQ consolidation while Tesla's grinding right near its low of the day to help the bears push through that support. But now, because that double bottom held, the relative weakness is trying to shift. So it's the kind of thing where we can say Tesla bears are positioned really well if the NASDAQ starts to weaken. Well, it didn't start to weaken. Not at the opportune time to break that low of the day. So we're back to watching 332 to 335 key resistance zones. Apple giving back a bit here. Not breaking the high of Friday. Coin's still strong. Coin's next resistance. Anything under 262.40 is a daily lower high, but Coin's weekly looks fine. Healthy weekly consolidation the past few weeks. OKLO didn't hold 69. That's surprising. So obviously a little bit of a red flag to give back this much. It's a 5-minute stair-step drop. And what makes it a red flag is just its peers are not doing anything similar. SMR is starting its pullback. CCJ is still strong sideways. So at this point, bulls are hoping for a 15-minute tightening range there. SMR as well. Big enough pullback to potentially watch for tightening ranges now after the initial bull move out of the way. But that's one of the potential later morning trades where we look for a name that's breaking out and we scout a 15-minute higher low. And we call it a later morning trade strategy because it's often after the first hour of trading when we are scouting that 15-minute higher low. So SMR is definitely on that list. PLTR could be as well. QQQ back to the high of the day, still no quit. We're testing that other resistance level now. That was the high of Thursday. $534.64. And then $536.78, highest price in months. Microsoft continues its blue sky breakout. So again, all these charts where even though the market dropped Friday, still looked just fine. Microsoft being one of them. What was the other? Meta. Nice recovery on Meta after some initial profit taking. If we fail 705, we'll look for a 15-minute tightening range on Meta into midday. MU just a runaway beast. Got to be aware of a short-term rising wedge. If a 2-minute rising wedge breaks bear, we would keep an eye out for 15-minute consolidation. But again, definitely not fighting that bull. UNH has tested 307 a ton here, but bulls need to get back 310 plus if we're going to have confidence it can hold. A couple other natural gas companies, EQT. Yeah, weekly bull flag confirmed, definitely. Again, just like silver, anything getting to decade plus highs. You hear me all the time, extra attention on things in blue sky. Second most extra attention on anything at decade plus highs. But that's blue sky. Looks like I drew a potential rising wedge on AR months ago. Because I would have drawn it before March 31st. So we'll keep an eye on that resistance. $42.63. CRCL trying to keep consolidation healthy. So 154.50, still trying to hold. Little 5-minute higher low just above it. Ideal for the bulls is just hold these gains, trade sideways if you have to, and then try and close strong for a gap up into vote day tomorrow. We got a long way to go, but if I'm laying out my ideal scenario for a bull, that's what it would look like. XLF, XLV still right up at their high with QQQ. RTX, our defensive name, selling off. No, that's a good sign. I'll be viewing that as an hourly equilibrium using extended hours levels. Worth paying attention to, as the daily is in blue sky, so that's all we got. So I'd call anything under 149.22 an hourly lower high for continued tightening. LMT giving back a lot more. CCJ trying to make it back to the high of the day. OKLO finally broke the 5-minute stair step. SMR 5-minute higher low, new support 43.55. Key resistance for me on UNH is the initial bounce top 311.17. CRCL trying to creep back to the high of the day. QQQ just grinding up. Whenever I see a move like that on QQQ or anything, I want to identify what EMA is it riding to be my guide. And I don't have a clear one, so it's not a great example. If we had held 2-minute EMA 12 here, I would then say, okay, 2-minute EMA 12 rider. If that is holding, bulls have absolute complete control. When we lose it, that's the first sign of a shift. And there are plenty of examples where, like the example I most recently used was Tesla on Friday, where we ran 2-minute EMA 12, held. And when it finally lost, that was the high of the day, and bears controlled from that point forward. So when something's in breakout, identify a guide like that. Again, we would just want to eliminate overthinking as much as we can. If this line is support, I don't do anything. It sounds so dumb and simple, but that's what we want to strive for. Otherwise, your brain's going, is it overbought? What's the RSI? Where's the next resistance? Are we extended? Should I sell and take profit? It's a difference of one statement versus 15 questions. CRCL got a new high with no follow through, so got to be a bit cautious if bulls are tiring. Still plenty of space for a higher low compared to 155.11. So MARA and Riot are trying to benefit. MARA, as I mentioned, is just a lot weaker than Riot. If you look at MARA divided by Riot, you can see this is the weakest it's been comparatively in months, and it's been glaringly weaker for a few weeks in a row now, which is why I keep focusing on Riot. But they're both daily inside bars, looking for higher lows. Again, I like the fact that Riot is back testing resistance as support and trying to hold it. MARA is just a sideways tightening range. Next time we do see 15-minute consolidation on the NASDAQ and S&P 500, we'll be scouting 15-minute higher lows. And we are at the only resistance zone nearby now. So again, on the NASDAQ, if we draw where we've topped out on the 4-hour 1, 2, 3, 4 times, this is that zone. Same for ES. If we reject, bulls would want to see a 4-hour bull flag to try and quickly get back over it. But first things first, we got to see if we reject. And again, we would need to see a confirmed 15-minute downtrend on SPY and QQQ if futures are going to see clear 4-hour consolidation taking place. XLF still pushing. Where's its next resistance? 51. Remember that 51? We've been chopping around 51 to 51.05 a lot. So that is a key zone for me. Bulls doing their best to try and keep the weekly bull flag alive. So on OKLO, I'd be on the 15-minute time frame now. As the morning progresses, I'm usually zooming out. So 15-minute higher low is set. Now we watch anything under 73.55 to be a lower high to tighten up. SMR is a tightening 5-minute range. CCJ just keeping the higher lows going. CRCL still at the highs. So I'll let you know if I see any red flags, but so far, the support hold on Friday in combination with how we're trading today. I mean, I'm a bull, but if I imagine I'm a bear, I am extremely uncomfortable. It's the ideal start to the week for bulls. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Again, eventually we'll look for 15-minute higher lows on XLF and QQQ and SPY. But for now, we're just grinding higher. CRCL, 5-minute uptrend guide, CCJ as well. So a lot of 5-minute trend guides. And we would need something to drastically change, which is always possible with a headline catalyst. But something would have to drastically change for things to shift back to fear. And without a drastic change, we're looking for all-time highs. Hope you have a good rest of your Monday. Check out chartguys.com if you're watching from the outside looking in. And I'll see everybody else in the chat room.